And welcome to day 2 of ICCC. We're here on the ECPC TV stage. I am Brown, leader from Hyperspace Heroes. And with me, I've got special co-host Matt from Yubcast. Welcome back to the stage, Matt.
Thanks.
And we've also got Micah from ECPC TV.
Hello.
And unfortunately for their sake, they've given me control of this episode. So
Mistakes were made.
Right, yeah, mistakes were made, and we will have legendary video because of it, right? So,
Touche.
but we've been given the privilege of having Marc Thompson join us today, veteran voice actor. Been doing this for quite some time, sir. Right? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, right on. So for those that don't know, Marc has been a voice actor for a long time. Because this is primarily a Star Wars show event, he's most notable for all of us, obviously, as Thrawn in a lot of the audiobooks and everything, correct?
Yeah.
So first time to ICCC?
Yeah. This is really cool. It's like I've been to a lot of conventions lately, but this one definitely feels unique. And I love, I love the theme because I'm a big Star Wars fan, but it's like the enthusiasm of the fans, and even like that there's like trading and vending going on in people's hotel rooms. I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? So it's really cool.
That's the first I've ever seen of that.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's
really
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. Are you staying right here on property?
Yeah.
So you're getting to see, yeah. That is one of the fun things, right? Just roaming from room to room and picking up the beers at the free doors, and continuing on with the sales, right? So what, we know you've played Thrawn. What other kind of roles have you done in terms of like the audiobooks for the Star Wars universe and then beyond?
I've been really lucky. Like I've been able to do a bunch. I started doing a series called The Legacy of the Force, and that was kind of Luke and Mara and Han and Leia's kids as they became adults and kind of the tragedies that ensue from that. So that was my first thing. And then we did Fate of the Jedi after that. And then I got to do Thrawn. And then I've been doing, lately, there's been a demand for a lot of the Legends books to get some unabridged productions. So we've been going back. And cool. I recently did like I, Jedi, and we've done several of the Rogue Squadron and Wraith Squadron books. And then we've been doing the High Republic books, which I'm a big fan of because I'm a big Jedi fan. So
right on.
Those have been really awesome, I think. So
Very cool. Micah?
One of the questions I had for you is, one, you're my favorite audio book. Sorry, so I'm not gonna fanboy over it all. Well, you're the reason I listen to audiobooks now instead of read.
Oh wow, thank you.
But when you are given a project, let's just use Heir of the Empire as an example.
Yeah.
Okay. They say, okay, we want you to get Thrawn. Here's all these characters. Where do you go, other than the movies, to bring Han, to bring Chewie? Because when you do those characters, you give them each an individual voice. I don't want to say voice.
Yeah.
And inflection of them that you can't tell a diff. Sometimes I was like, did he get somebody else to come in and play this character? But I know it's all you. So where do you go to get those characters?
Right. Well, so for a lot of those earlier books that I did, I'm such a fan of the original trilogy that like I've watched those films so many times that they're almost kind of like already a part of me. So like a lot of it was just drawing on me listening to those films all the time. But what is interesting is that you're now playing new scenes, because it'd be one thing. I've done a couple adaptations of the films, different versions of Star Wars and Empire and Jedi, and like. So in those, it's like you can almost do like line readings of how they're in. But it is interesting when you're playing a scene with Han in that era, but it's a type of scene. He's not like seeing Han with a kid is a scene that I haven't gotten to witness before.
Right.
So a lot of that is, just using your imagination and trying to play it out, and then thinking about like how he was portrayed in the films, and trying to bring some of that in. And most of the heavy lifting on that is the authors, like, because the authors really do a great job of getting you in those characters' minds, and so it becomes a lot more evident as you're reading along, and kind of they do a lot of internal monologue work that helps you kind of figure out how you should play a particular scene. So
right on, Matt.
Yeah. Hi again, Mark.
Hey.
We talked on the first day. Turns out that you're a Pokemon actor. My neighbor's a Pokemon actor, and you guys knew each other. And
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was a fun little coincidence there. I love the audiobooks too. I had a job for a long time where I couldn't access my hands and had to sit in a chair for like 8 hours a day, and
Oh,
I just
wow.
put the headphones in and listened to audiobooks. Not only the characters that you give the different voices to and different inflections to, it's the production values of the books where they add
Yeah.
the music and the sound effects. It's like a play.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a whole
Radio theater.
radio theater, yeah. I just really appreciate everything you've done. I was curious about, can we talk about voiceover work too?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when we talked yesterday, you talked about how Daria
Oh, yeah.
was your breakout role, and I thought maybe we could talk about how you got that.
Oh, yeah. So basically, I was studying acting at NYU, and this was like before the internet in the olden days. And
Back when Grandpappy came.
Yeah, I'd walk uphill in the snow.
It's called a modem.
Yeah.
Why is the sound going?
Exactly. So they had like a cork board and just like a piece of paper on a cork board that said like call this phone number and
For a
leave
good
a
time.
voice on a answering machine. And so literally I just left a voice on an answering machine, a goofy voice, and that was enough to get me in the door. And then that cartoon did not go into production, but they remembered me from that and then invited me to audition for Daria, which was a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead. And,
Yeah.
So, and it was really cool. And I got cast as this like football player. He's like kind of this like ditzy dude. He's like, all right, babe, cool. Like he's like, I'm like, ugh. And it was kind of cool because his name was Kevin in the script, but eventually, after I got cast, they named him Kevin Thompson after my last name,
Right.
which is funny because then I have a friend from church whose actual name is Kevin Thompson, and he was a quarterback or a football player. So
Uh-oh.
it was like everyone's like, wait, is that you? It's like, no, I swear.
I was like, I took that right
Yeah,
from you, man.
and I'm not saying anything about your personality.
Right.
But then
Right.
I did that, and then eventually they needed to replace the actor for a couple of the teachers, and then I got to do Mr. O'Neill and Mr. DiMartino. And Mr. DiMartino is like this Vietnam vet whose eye is bulging out of his head. He's like, Daria Morgendorfer, and he's like always on the verge of having a heart attack. And so, yeah, it was super fun, and I got to like, I had a bunch of people over when it first came on TV, and it was like, oh, that's you, and so it was kind of a high bar for your first job because it was like that's so cool that you're on MTV, and so
Yeah, MTV on a Mike Judge
yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah, so it was really exciting. It was a
That's,
huge deal.
that's like TV royalty back in the
Yeah.
90s.
Right.
Yeah, so it was really exciting.
So in your career, and this is it's the asking the parent their favorite kid question,
Yeah.
which is over your career, is there a character that just has that special place in your heart?
It is the favorite kid question.
Right.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's like I think of the cartoons I've gotten to do, Casey Jones was a big deal to me because I was a fan of the original Ninja
Nice.
Turtles, so
Right on.
that was a big deal for me
Yeah.
to get to do. But I mean, Star Wars, it's like a religion for me. So like the fact that I get to do Star Wars audiobooks is my all-time favorite thing and the thing I'm most excited about. And one of my best friends used to make fun of me because like on my resume, you list off your different credits, and I've gotten to do a Broadway show, and I've been on some national commercials and stuff. But like the first thing on my resume was like Star Wars audiobooks,
Right.
And he's looking at my resume. He's like, you've been on Broadway. Like casting directors are much more interested in the fact that you did this. He's like, yeah, but that's Star Wars, like that, So yeah, that's probably one of the greatest honors of my life is that I get to do the
Right
audio.
on.
So, yeah.
Right on, Micah.
When you were thinking Thrawn's voice, where did you get it?
So it's an interesting evolution because like the first time I got to do Thrawn, it was the 25th anniversary of Heir to the Empire, and I kind of latched on to the idea that the Empire was prejudiced against him because he was this alien, and
Right.
and so I had the idea to almost give him what to an American or European listener might interpret as a kind of a foreign accent, you know. And so because I wanted to latch onto that xenophobia and that kind of otherness that the Empire would look at him in. And we actually recorded the first couple of chapters with that kind of a different voice to make him sound more alien to the Empire. And at one point, Kevin, the director, was like, okay, I like what we're doing, but I feel like we're missing out on the kind of Sherlock Holmes kind of detective, brilliant genius, unraveling the mystery flavor of Thrawn. And so he suggested, why don't we go back and kind of give him more of a, you know, something similar that's evocative of like a Sherlock Holmes. So then we kind of landed on that more like that very baritone and Captain Pelion, you know, and he's very kind of, you know, British and, you know, intelligent. And so then that was how we did him for Heir to the Empire and the other two in that trilogy. And then when Thrawn appeared on Rebels, Lars Mikkelsen did him, and Lars has a very unique accent, and he really did this like very kind of, you know, hushed and very, you know, quiet, and you know, and so when they asked me to do that again, we kind of decided, why don't we try to come more in line with that, because that'll be kind of the Thrawn that more people are going to be familiar with. So he's kind of evolved a lot over time. So
I was going to ask, did the live action or when he did it for Rebels, did he approach you at all and say, hey, or listen to the book or be like, hey, you started it, let me finish it, kind of a thing?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance. I actually just got to meet him a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
We didn't talk beforehand, and I was a big fan of what he was doing. But I don't know if what we did in the books influenced him at all, because he did in the 25th anniversary edition of the books, there was a reservedness that Timothy Zahn writes him that way. And I should have asked him if
because you guys like it sounds like you to him are very like
yeah.
I mean, the pitch is a little, but I mean,
Right.
it sounds like he took from you and just put his thing on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I if I get to talk to him again, maybe I'll ask him. But a lot of that I imagine is credited to Timothy Zahn, because I think he writes him so clearly that it almost demands that type of, you know,
Yeah.
like reserved, quiet, in control performance, because he's just written so brilliantly and you know, yeah, it's great. So
What's your favorite line that you've done of Thrawn?
perhaps. And I once, if you ever get to talk to Timothy, he's here this weekend. But
we had him on earlier.
Tim's, I don't know if I should tell this story or not, but like he
Tell
has,
the
all right,
story.
I'll tell the story. He has a great answer to that question, because you know, in the trilogy that happens kind of in the same time as Rebels, he says perhaps a lot. And after a while, I was kind of like joking around with Kevin. I was like, why does he say perhaps so much? And what's going on, you know? And I thought it was just like kind of a author style thing. Like I thought maybe Timothy Zahn just says perhaps a lot, you know. So at one of these conventions one time, I got to ask, like, you know, he says perhaps a lot, and he went into this huge like explanation that, you know, when Thrawn says perhaps, it's because he's always open to any and all possibilities. Oh. He's always looking for the best answer and the best solution to any problem. And he never wants to shut any potential, you know, answer down. So he's always open to all possibilities. So that's why he's always saying perhaps, because he's every time he's considering every possible outcome, every possible solution, because he doesn't want to prejudice or like, you know, overlook any possible, which I thought was like, that's so genius, you know, because I thought it was just, not thinking about how often you're using a word, but like he really had thought through, no, this is a character, you know, thing for him. And I was like, wow. So
that's mind blowing.
yeah,
That's
he's
very
great.
cool.
Yeah.
Matt.
That's very much like the scientific method.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a professional scientist. That's my background.
Oh, cool.
And so I love it when I notice it in pop culture.
Yeah.
But I was curious about future voiceover work you might do, and I'm going to ask an Henri question. What Star Wars animated character would you like to voice?
Oh, wow.
Great
Good
question.
question.
That's great.
question.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of things coming up. I do this show on Netflix is called Bread Barbershop. It's like a talking piece of toast. So, so I'm still doing new episodes of that. There's a show on Roku right now called Hero Inside that's pretty great. A bunch of Star Wars audiobooks. Like this summer, we were very busy. We recorded a couple new Wraith Squadron books. So I think I don't know if they've come out yet, but I think Iron Fist and Solo Command either have just come out or are about to.
I think Iron Fist is out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we also recorded a new High Republic audio drama, which is multicast. So I got to play like Marchion Ro and Skier and Orbelin and a couple other characters. But then they got like Jessica Almazy as Lorna. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But plays a
Beep.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
yeah. Low. A very interesting character that people might know. But it's a great story, and that's multicast. So that'll be cool.
I want to jump in real quick. So Marchion Ro,
Yeah.
is there anything that, because I haven't heard you do his voice, so is there anything that you do, because Thrawn is iconic, and when you go to High Republic,
Yeah.
it's Marchion Ro. So what do you do to develop his voice?
Yeah, he was another one where it was challenging because I really wanted to stay away from kind of the stereotypical British bad guy because I feel like it's just been done so many times.
Right.
And the way Charles established him, he's like this. He's an Evereni, and he's got like gray skin and dark black eyes. And to a human reader, your mind might go to like a shark. And so there was something about the way he was described as like this kind of still and quiet until it was time to strike. So I kind of came up with this thing of, we are all the Republic. And it's this very like, almost like weak sounding, strained thing until it is time to chop your hand off. And he like gets really loud and like, so like, it's like he's the very like, almost like he's like boiling water just about to boil over and like until that moment. And so it's like, but a lot of that was inspired by Charles and just how he was written in Light of the Jedi.
Very cool. Very
cool.
As we start to wrap up, are there any more other projects that you're working on?
Just mainly those audiobooks and those cartoons that are coming out. Yeah. So
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, thank you for coming on the show with us
Yeah.
today. We appreciate it. Where are you in the con? Because you're doing autographs, you're doing signings, you're talking to guests. You're right out in the main area, right?
yeah, I'm right next to Timothy Zahn, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's
So, like,
perfect, right?
If you're a Thrawn fan, it lines right up.
Couldn't have done that any better. Could
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, make sure if you're in the Nashville area this weekend, swing by ICCC. It's a great event. We've got great guests like Mark and Zahn and others. Get your autographs, talk to them, they'll spend a few minutes with you. Before we do the final sign-off, so because they're letting me make this a Hyperspace Heroes show, so all guests on our show become honorary members of the crew, and both of you guys, it's your first time.
Cool.
So with that, you get a flight designation and a call sign.
No way.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I've given out Thrawn already, and I've given out Mithra already.
Oh.
So I dug a little deeper, and so Mark, you're going to be Brown 64, and it's actually going to be Kivu, which is the first part of his actual birth name.
Oh,
Thrawn's
wow.
birth name.
That's pretty cool.
It's like Kivu Ra Nuru. I think is how it's pronounced. And then Micah, Brown 65, and got to go with Revan, right? I mean, that's your absolute favorite character.
favorite.
So
That's
very cool.
welcome to the crew, guys.
Thank you.
So wanted to do that before we get sign off. But yeah, make sure you hit ICCC. Also, stay tuned to the ECPC TV and ICCC Facebook pages for more interviews that we're going to be doing throughout the weekend. And with that, guys, thanks for joining us, and have a good show.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.